Well, the Pokemon Presents of 2025, at least the first one, has passed, and we did not get anything about Pokemon Black and White remakes, which is a little bit of a disappointment, and it has us wondering here at Haus if we will ever get Pokemon Black and White remakes. Well, guys, I'm Rob, this is Haus, and we're going to be discussing that today, whether or not it's going to ever end up happening, and there's some evidence for and against it, so I hope you guys will stick around and give this video a like if you end up enjoying it, and make sure to subscribe if you like Pokemon content, as we have new content coming out nearly every single day. Also, let me know in the comment section what you guys believe, if we will or will not get remakes in the near future. So yeah, let's just hop into it here, and there is some evidence to suggest that maybe we will be getting it. It just may not happen this year. I'll give you guys that little tidbit, but let's start kind of with the history of remakes, right? I feel like that's an important part of this sort of, I don't know, not only discussion, but kind of the calculation as to when things may end up actually happening. The very first one was Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, which was obviously a remake of the Gen 1 games. It came out about 8 years after the originals, so 1996 for the originals, 2004 for the remakes. Then we got Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Now, we had back-to-back generations of these games, not just Gen 1 and Gen 2, but Gen 3 and 4 was when all of these games were coming back out, right? So for Heart Gold and Soul Silver, this was 10 years later in 2009. Then in 2014, we got Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire with Gen 6. So we had a new, right, sort of, I guess, trend, if you want to call it that, where we skipped Gen 5, and then in Gen 6 was when we got the new remakes. This was, again, 5 years later, which was interesting, so it felt like a trend, right? A very, very specific trend of every 5 years, and these games came out 12 years after the original Ruby and Sapphire games. We went for a shorter time period, to say the least, and it was in 2018 that Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee came out. That was with Gen 7, but these were remakes, obviously, of the original games, so we did not get the Gen 4 remakes that everybody was expecting and hoping for. The next remakes came out 2 years later, in 2020, with the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX, and this is a very important part of this sort of black and white Pokemon remake discussion, where they completely combined two different games, right? And you know, it was Rescue Team Red and Rescue Team Blue, and these were combined into one game. Unlike in previous iterations of remakes for Pokemon games, where we still were getting the two different versions, they were just renamed and revamped, right? Or they, were introducing something completely new, like they did in the Let's Go games. So this was interesting. And then our last true remakes to the mainline series of games came out 7 years after Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, with Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and these came out with Generation 8. So it had been 7 years and two generations since we had received a new remake, and these came out 15 years after the original games. So this was something that is worth pointing out, is that it felt like, they did 8 years, then 10 years, then 12 years, and then 15 years in between the remakes. And this is something that is really worth mentioning, as it feels like maybe they're starting to even shift away a little bit from remakes because of the way that Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl were received. Whereas there were a lot of people who enjoyed the games, and they enjoyed the new chibi art style, all of that, right? But there were a lot of people who were disappointed that they were just faithful remakes. They were not, new additions or new storylines that were added, like we had seen with Heart Gold and Soul Silver and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Fire Red and Leaf Green were relatively faithful remakes, but they did make improvements and make the game better. Really, the only thing that changed in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, for the most part, right, was the animation style and the way the game looked, which was beautiful to, don't get me wrong, it absolutely was, but it wasn't necessarily something that got a lot of people really excited. So, right, if we're looking at the way that these remakes went, Pokemon Black and White should be next, right? Like, that would be the only thing that would make sense. But I will throw this quickly out there to you that maybe it could be Pokemon Gold and Silver remakes, again, kind of like a Let's Go version. Obviously, they already have Heart Gold and Soul Silver, games that are beloved by many different people, including myself, and maybe I'm just showing my bias with that, but it doesn't feel like they necessarily would need a remake, but it would be nice to have them on the Nintendo Switch in some capacity, so that could happen, but it feels more likely that we are going to get a Black and White remake, and let's kind of look again as to when did those games come out, because it was something I had to remind myself of, even though I played both of them when they came out. Black and White, as a reminder, came out in 2010, and then 2 years later we got Black and White, Black and White 2, excuse me. So, this year it would have been 15 years since Black and White came out. But maybe, just maybe, it's going to end up being in 2027, which would be 15 years after Black and White 2 were released. The reason why is because I think they're going to combine both of these games in a similar way that they did with Rescue Team DX, and I think that they are going to have these games be kind of this stopgap that we've been seeing over the years, right? We're getting Pokemon Legends ZA at the end of 2025. We're very likely to get Generation 10 in 2026 with the 30th anniversary, and it wouldn't really surprise me or Connor or probably most Pokemon fans if they announce some of the things that they're going to be doing for 2027 in 2026 as well during that 30th year anniversary. And I think that it's going to be the Black and White remakes. I think that they're going to combine it. I don't know if they're going to call it Black and White 3, right? Or if they're going to just kind of, do what they've been doing where they slightly rename these games and make a combination of them. But it feels like they could use that stopgap in 2027 so that then maybe we get another Legends game in 2028. And then that gives them a little bit of time to make Generation 11 should they continue to, make things in that sort of way, right? In that trend that we had seen. What was interesting is Pokemon was relatively predictable, right? We knew what we were getting. And then they took this stopgap year in 2024. And with Legends ZA coming out at the end of 2025, it feels like they have taken this time to reset and change the way that they do things. And that is what has really made this interesting. I thought personally that this year was going to be a great year for them to come out with the Black and White remakes in the similar vein that they, did Pokemon BDSP and then they quickly shifted to a Legends game. I thought that they were going to do the same thing with a Black and White remake coming out, in the summer-ish time or shortly after the announcement of it in 2025. But it did not happen that way. Obviously, we got Pokemon Champions, which we really have no idea when that is coming out, and we got Pokemon Legends ZA coming out for sure sometime at the end of 2025. And we can only hope that we will get a new Pokemon game in 2026 with Generation 10. I think that seems very likely. And then finally after that, we might get Black and White remakes. So depending on when you're watching this, maybe the Black and White remakes are going to be coming very soonly, or soon. Wow, soonly. Very soon. If this video is still doing well in multiple years from now, I may even revisit this, to be honest with you. But we will have to see. Let me know what you guys think, like I said before, in the comments section below. But I really do fully believe that Black and White remakes are coming out sometime in 2027 is going to be my newest prediction. So let me know what you guys think, but that is going to wrap it up for us on this Poke House video. So with that, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.